I like salad. Do you like salad?
Hi, I'm Ho Shun Ho. I'm living in Vancouver, BC, Canada, unceded territory of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I'm an immigrant to Canada from China.
Hey everyone, I'm Andrea coming to you from Victoria, but more importantly known as unceded Akwesasne territory of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations, and I am an immigrant from the United States of America. And you're listening to
Canadian Salad.
Canadian Salad.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone. Another week, another episode, and another salad at your door.
Exactly. Another day, another sleigh.
Eat, slay, love.
Again, that's how I call myself, okay? ESL.
ESL, the ESL queen. I love it. Do you ever, I would love if you applied to an ESL job. And in the interview, they're like, so tell us about your ESL experience. And you're like, well, I really want to focus on the sleigh part. So let me tell you. And just see their face. It would be so funny. I would love that. I'd love to be in the room.
That should be a skit.
It should be
a
yes.
Saturday Night Live skit. That would be so funny. We should sell them that skit. Oh my God.
You should, Hoshin. You could quit your job.
God.
Exactly. Exactly.
I know.
You are so funny. We need humor. Today's heavy.
We need humor to this topic. Especially, we need some... Well, there's no way we can do it light, obviously.
No, there isn't.
It's a very heavy topic, but we will try our best.
Yeah, we will try our best. And we're both getting over colds, so... If we sound weird or if you hear a cough, I'm going to do my best to edit it out. But if you do hear that, just know that we're not, you can't get also, our germs.
Exactly. Also, that showcase how dedicated we are to this.
That's right.
Even we're sick, we still keep delivering you an episode.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Because we love doing this. We love talking to you and talking about things that are really important.
Especially today's episode is very important.
Yeah. Hoshin, do you want to tell everyone what we're going to talk about?
Yes. So October 7th is the anniversary. We know what October 7th is. Also, is anniversary of the war against Gaza.
Yeah.
And I would say it's an important point to realize the Israeli colonization to Gaza.
Yeah.
To Palestine.
Right.
So we're going to talk about that today.
Yeah, it's been a long year. I think this is the first time that the whole world has watched a genocide unfold on our cell phones. A year where we're left feeling really powerless and, at least for me, just super discouraged. But what we want to incorporate today is just what the world has done in response. I think
the timeline.
Yeah. I think for many of us, and maybe we could speak a little bit to our own personal story, but I grew up in the States where Israel was synonymous with the Bible, right? It was a Christian Zionism that I was raised in. Israel could do no wrong. That's where God's going to come back, yada, 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 all of this, these narratives that are embedded in Zionist ideas. And it wasn't until I moved to Canada that honestly, I went to a pro-Palestinian rally and I realized, oh my gosh, I've only heard one side of the story. I've only ever heard about Israel's struggle with neighboring countries and how there are terrorist groups that want to come against Israel. But I never questioned. So in the past year, for sure, I have had to relearn and unlearn these narratives and realize that there is a huge story, a huge side of the story that has been untold. And while I'm disappointed that I didn't know that side of the story, I'm very thankful that I know it now. And with anyone, with any situation, understand who is involved and why isn't one people's narrative being told. So that's my trying to make sense of last year. It's been very unraveling myself and my identity and just removing a lot of those layers. How about you, Hoshin?
I think for my history, my story about that, it's, of course, I have no religious background, so Israel to me doesn't mean necessarily anything. But because I do think that Israel compared to Palestine. I usually heard it more on the news. I know the story about the Jew because everyone knows about the Holocaust. And then
Right.
because they are like ally of the West, I would say I know more about them than
Right.
compared to Palestine.
Mhm.
So when the October 7th incident happened, my first reaction, also on the news too, is sympathy goes to Israel, which
Right.
is we definitely saddened by all the life lost
Yeah,
and captive
absolutely.
being
Absolutely.
captured. The Israelis can know it doesn't matter whether they're from Israel or Palestine, no blood should be
Treated that way.
spilled.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something we have to address. And then so when things more unfold, and then also the more I look into it, I realize, oh, actually, Israel is not the good guy here. So after learning all of that, my first feeling is definitely disappointment.
Yeah.
Disappointment on myself, on not knowing more and earlier on the dynamics between the history, I guess, of all of this. And also second is how the powerful these Western countries who claim to be friend, ally of just and speakers of freedom and
Mhm.
how they reacted to this colonization basically literally keep happening. And now even the genocide keep
Right.
happening. And third, also disappointing on how many of my quote unquote friends into this.
Oh,
And this
yeah.
definitely maybe realize who are true friends and who are not.
Mhm.
Because I think when it comes to genocide, some people around me that I used to call friends, I guess, just tread this very lightly. And sometimes it just
Yeah.
made me saddened about it. They just see,
Mhm.
oh, it's just another international incident that doesn't affect me. And I was just
Right.
like,
Right. Yeah, I've heard that too.
yeah, yeah. And that sometimes really saddens me. And
Mm.
so I'm also very disappointing about that. So there's a lot of frustration, disappointment related
Right.
to all of this that's happening in this
Mm-hmm.
whole year, I would say.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with friends and even family, and I'll speak to my own. I mean, I'll talk to my dad because he won't talk to me, but there is this like line in the sand. It's, look, I shouldn't have to defend people's right to live.
Hmm.
And if this is a line that we can't agree on, I'm sorry. I just don't know where this relationship can go.
Yeah.
Especially if they're not willing to engage or listen or be curious. But no, I resonate with everything that you said, and I really do appreciate, you sharing that. So just to prepare the audience, we are going to go through just bullet point statistics on what happened before October 7th. Now, we're not going all the way back to when Israel first started occupying Palestine. 1948, that's a lot of history to unpack, but there were a lot of events in 2023 before October 7th even happened. And this was something that I did not even know up until recently because, again, the media shared only one side.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we'll get into some casualty facts, unfortunately. And then we're really going to camp on the world and how the world has responded, Canada's response, and what we can do. So we're going to leave you all on a note of like really wanting to encourage you, but also just offering a space saying if you need to process this with someone, if you want to leave us a comment or send us an email saying, I really resonate with what you said. It's been a really hard year for me. Please, we want to hear from you and be that space for you. Before October 7th, which we all have heard, Hamas had made an attack that day, killing 1,200 people and then took more than 250 people hostage. And we'll link all of these statistics in our show notes. Not one statistic. We've done our homework, folks. But before October 7th in 2023, the Defense Children International, which is an organization that operates in the Middle East, it marked 2023 as the deadliest year for Palestinian children. So unfortunately, 47 children had already been killed before October 7th. 800 Palestinian civilians were captured by the Israeli forces. And as of just before October 7th, Israeli forces actually were holding 160 Palestinian children in its jails, including 32 who were under the age of 15. Since the year 2000, Israeli forces have killed 2,287 Palestinian children. 8,000 Palestinian hostages were taken in 2023 and are in the detention centers currently held without charges. And there were 12,000 homes built illegally on Palestinian land. A lot of the illegal occupation was poisoning the water, forcing people to leave, and just doing like really terrible things to get people to leave. So that all happened There was a big attack, actually the largest and the biggest airstrike that had happened in the Gaza Strip, October 6th. So October 7th, Hamas responds. And from that date to just immense suffering. This is all from the Associated Press and multiple Al Jazeera news, but also The Guardian. But 41,000 Palestinians so far have been killed. And this is not including those who are still buried or who have died in Israeli prisons. And it doesn't include those who have died because of lack of medical attention. So there have been Palestinians who needed dialysis, but because all of the hospitals in the area were not functioning and there were no doctors, a lot of people died because of kidney failure. So I think the estimate that I saw was that the death toll could be about 186,000 people. 98,000 Palestinians have been injured, over half being women and children. To this date, 720 Israeli troops have been killed. And then 1,100 Israelis have been killed since October 7th. This is also to say that there are Palestinian refugees in the ghettos of Israel and surrounding countries. Estimates are at 1.5 million. As little as 10,000 people have been able to pay the money to leave Gaza and live in Egypt. 90% of Gaza's population is displaced multiple times in the amount of about 2 million people. 92% of the roads are demolished. 84% of health facilities are no longer operable. 70% of water and sanitation facilities are decimated. There's currently 40 million tons of debris, estimating that it could take about 40 years to completely rebuild Gaza. Palestinian journalists have been killed, about 130. 2 Israeli journalists have been killed and 3 Lebanese since the strike. And I know there's a few Americans that have been killed who were journalists and UN officials. And to date, about 1,100 Palestinian healthcare workers have also been killed. And if you do the math, it's a lot. I don't know, Hoshin, if you wanted to speak to any of these facts before we move on into the world's response or what happened globally.
I think numbers are cold in many ways. And I think as someone or anyone who who are concerned about world news, look at all this death every day, and sometimes we get desensitized about that. And again, every number we saw here, no matter is 1,100 healthcare worker killed for just a number. But for all these 1,100 people, they have families, they have friends, they have kids at home. They also
hopes,
have
degrees.
They are like everyone who's listening, just like you, maybe sitting on a bus listening to us, or sitting in your car listening to us, or just like us sitting behind a computer in a mic talking about this. They are more than a number. I hope everyone understand no more people's blood should be spilled up for anything. That is never fair. That's never okay. But the fact that, and I think the fact that many of these people are dead because of a few people's interests. And I think we always have to remember that it's a few people's interests who sits on the position of power decided, okay, now we want your place, we want your space, and we want your country, we want whatever resources you have. So you now have to die because I want that. And then, millions of people, thousands of people, friends, family, dreams, hopes are just now becomes a number that we talk about.
Right.
So I hope everyone understands the seriousness, I guess.
The gravity.
Or the gravity of the whole situation. And also understand it's something that we need to really sit in and also reflect on. And why are we not doing more? Why our leaders are not doing more? Why are we not pushing our leaders doing more? This number should anger you. Should not be just a number that you just listen and then pass through.
No, thank you.
And that's why we're also giving you all these numbers.
Yeah. I mean, even just writing it out, I had to walk away because the amount of people that have suffered and are still suffering, like there's never a reason for this genocide. And we see it in other countries, like even Sudan and the Congo. And there are millions of lives that have suffered at the hands of very few interests, very few powerful people who want money, who want power, who want land, who want whatever. And this case is also really embedded in people who were really Anyway, there's so many things that we could go into related to this case, but you're absolutely right. Like when we talk about a number, we're literally talking about a soul, a mind, a body, a relationship. And I think I saw recently someone was holding up a sign. It was like someone had passed away and they were holding up a sign like she was someone's aunt, sister, daughter, and they had all those things crossed out. And it said, she's a someone. That someone doesn't have to belong to someone else to matter. The fact that they are a someone matters, period.
I think that also speaks volumes of empathy to all of us. If that someone is not someone that's close to you, somehow that someone is worth less.
Yeah.
I think that speaks volumes of empathy. Or in some way, your humanity.
Right. Which we're all capable of. We're all capable of valuing
I guess
one.
some are not.
But I mean, I think it was James Baldwin who said that the world is in existence because of the love of very few people. Like you and I could be that IDF soldier. You and I could be a monster, a cop. And the fact that we are choosing not to be, that's what creates the humanity, right? Instead of just, I'm going to side with this team and I'm going to side with that team. If we don't embody that and actually recognize that person was a someone just as I'm a someone, then we are just as capable of harnessing power and leveraging people's lives over another.
Well, really well said.
Yeah, James Baldwin, he's great. I'll put a link of his speech anyway. So we're going to go a little bit into kind of the world's response, some big key ticket items that happened. I don't know. When I saw this happen, I felt so much just hope for the world and humanity. So on December 29th, 2023, South Africa began their international court case against Israel for genocide against Palestinians, which was a violation in this case against the 1948 Geneva Convention. So they launch it, they begin it. And then January 11th and 12th was when the International Court of Justice held that court hearing. So South Africa filed it, and then the hearing happened. So that was huge because honestly, like up until this point, no one was coming against anything that was happening except all of us who were on our little cell phones saying this is wrong and inhumane. All of a sudden we had an international body that was actually saying, hey, we're going to consider this. An international government, a South African government that said this is actually wrong. Believe us, right? That on May 6th, there was a ceasefire deal that was made by Qatari and Egyptian negotiators. Hamas actually accepted that ceasefire deal. Mr. Netanyahu, of course, denied it. That was the first ceasefire deal that Hamas actually accepted. May 20th, the International Criminal Court called on the arrest of Mr. Netanyahu and Hamas leaders. So again, I don't know about you, Hoshin, but in May when I saw that ruling, because they have the ICC, International Criminal Court, also has an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin. So there are certain countries that he cannot go because he knows that government or that state will arrest him.
Will arrest him, yeah.
Right. And so that's what ICC was doing as well, saying, hey, he is a war criminal. He's been held in his own courts, in Israeli courts, and he's been held to account for war crimes that he's committed in his own country. So this is not out of left field. This makes sense with everything that was happening. It was in June 6th that 146 of the United Nations member states, quote, recognized the state of Palestine and to use all political and diplomatic resources at their disposal to bring about an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, end quote. And so again, you have, and I believe it's 146 out of 192 member states that are in the UN. I think there were countries that abstained, i.e. Canada, i.e. the United States.
US.
Yes. June 11th, not just 5 days later, Hamas accepts a UN ceasefire deal. The United Nations had crafted a ceasefire deal, obviously in response to this vote that they had done on June 6th. Hamas accepts it. Mr. Netanyahu denied it. June 23rd, about 12 days later, Mr. Netanyahu makes a speech saying that war will continue even with ceasefire deals. So we have seen and heard that he will not stop at anything. July 19th, We finally have the International Court of Justice ruling 7 months after the initial court hearing. I mean, they had to go through a lot of evidence and things like documentation. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, within that window of time, a lot of people suffered, unfortunately. The International Court of Justice actually declared Israel's presence illegal. Quote, the landmark ruling of 19 July 2024 declared that Israel's occupation of the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, is unlawful, along with the associated settlement regime, annexation, and use of natural resources. The court added that Israel's legislation and measures violate the international prohibition on racial segregation and apartheid. The ICJ mandated Israel to end its occupation, dismantle its settlements, provide full reparations to Palestinian victims, and facilitate the return of displaced people. End quote. Which was huge because it was held in The Hague, which is it's in a European country. Is that Norway? Or no, it was Belgium.
Don't know.
Oh, okay. It was in Europe. Yeah.
Oh, no, UN. Oh, yeah, no, I think it's Belgium.
Belgium. I think okay, folks, we'll look it up.
We can be wrong. We can be wrong.
Yeah, we can be wrong. Yeah, for there.
Don't hold us
the date.
I
had the date and the source. I just didn't get the bits out. I don't know about you, Hoshin, but I was just relieved because so many voices were just all about, oh, well, Israel has the right to defend itself, right to defend itself, right to defend itself, and you have the International Court of Justice, like the global court, saying what Israel's doing is wrong. And I think for me, and we'll talk a little bit this later, but for me, it felt like, okay, if the Western world, if Canada and the US doesn't get it, the rest of the world does. And I will not be framed a wild lunatic because I actually agree with an International Court of Justice.
Court, exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Who's examined
For
that?
me, when I heard that, the first I thought I have was, oh my God, this is gonna be finally like history has something.
Yeah.
To like that is for the righteous, that is for justice. Because if this ruling would not be out, because history is always right by the winner. It always is.
Yeah.
So I'm sometimes when it comes out, this one comes out, I was really happy because okay, finally, because I was worried that Israel were gonna call this.
Right. We do. We want winners. Yeah.
But no matter what happened, no matter what Israel did, at the end of the day, this ruling will forever be in history.
Yeah.
Forever, there will be people remember how horrible they were. What they did was wrong.
And how countries who didn't do anything or ignored this ruling, i.e., for example, Canada, the United States, they'll be on the wrong side of history. And this is something, this is a reckoning that the U.S., the U.S. has to be held accountable, in Canada as well, for so many things that they have not been accountable to yet. But yeah, you're absolutely right. This is history. And there was a part of me that was like, okay, that means the suffering will end. And it didn't end.
It didn't.
No. September 6th, Spain becomes, September 6th is last month. Spain is among 12 other countries who are applying, that have either announced or filed a declaration of intervention in the ICJ case. Spain, along with Nicaragua, Colombia, Mexico, Libya, Palestine, Spain, Belgium, Turkey, Egypt, the Maldives, Ireland, Chile, and Cuba, are all saying we support South Africa and their case, and we want to also say that we are declaring that the International Court intervenes. So yeah, 12 more countries are in alignment with South Africa. And then as of September 8th, there have been more than 1,200 protests in Israel against Mr. Netanyahu, the war, the actual genocide, and his war crimes. So there are Israeli people who do not agree with this, and a lot of them are, there's been defectors. There's been troops that will deny service in the IDF. I sat in on a session with a guy who had refused to serve, and so they have to go to 2 years worth of prison, and if they refuse. But that movement is growing. A lot more young men and women who are, because it's mandatory recruit, are saying, we can't do this, not in our name, and they're refusing. So That was the international scene. I mean, again, there's a lot of dates there and so much has happened. And I haven't even captured all of the responses from all different countries.
Canada, from the States. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I think it was really important to recognize that there are many other people on this planet who know injustice when they see it and are willing to be loud about it and advocate for change and want to be propelling action forward. Because again, so much of the narratives we hear in the media on this side of the planet are just one-sided. Israel's done no wrong. So internationally, there's a lot of people that are saying this is wrong and this needs to end.
I think it's only really the people that are choose to not see the truth. And I think those are the people that we have to be mindful of.
Yeah. The thing that I keep coming to is like, you can't kill an idea by killing the person.
Yeah.
In the sense of that life might be gone, but that idea still lives. That idea has an eternal kind of embodiment. And that's why we can't kill our way to peace. We can't just bomb our way, or we can't terrorize our way to peace, because those ideas will continue and continue.
I mean, I think killing is definitely the most, in many way, barbaric, obviously. Also the most stupid way to control, to like terror, to spread terror. And then they think that's the easiest way, the best way to control people, control narrative. I really find that very stupid. And it's always men who's doing it. Men who are doing it.
Power,
I think
control.
Exactly. In many ways, it's always this men thinking, oh, if I kill this person, then or have all the power over this person, then I own this person, and then it's over. Right. In many ways, it's like slavery too.
Yeah, exactly.
But look at now.
And I see this even with my son. The kid hits him, he wants to hit back. Like he wants retribution. He wants to feel like he has power again. I think that's a human condition, male, female, non-binary. I think that is a part of our existence where we want to have power. And when we feel that power taken, we fight for it. I don't agree that pushing someone back is like I wouldn't say I'm a pacifist, but I also am like, that's not gonna, if we just keep punching each other, we're just gonna be black and blue eyed and we're not even gonna be able to see anymore.
We're resolving nothing.
We're resolving nothing, right? And sometimes that power is achieved by walking away or saying, I'm not going to let that affect me, right? We have this idea what taking back that power looks like when it's actually much more creative and much more inclusive and much more sustainable and powerful than just retribution. But I wanted to bring it back to Canada briefly, like Canada's response. And we're not going to go into the United States because I don't live in the United States and I don't want to talk about them. So it was on October 27th, there was a resolution to call for a ceasefire. The UN had a resolution to say, hey, we need a ceasefire October 27th. Canada abstained from that vote. Trudeau, on November 4th, called Mr. Netanyahu to tell him of Canada's unwavering support, and 10 days later, on November 14th, condemns Mr. Netanyahu for the humanitarian loss that he committed. I don't know, buddy. You just gave him unwavering support. Anyway, we'll get into the arms, how much Canada has given Israel arms. December 2024, there was a joint call for a humanitarian ceasefire with New Zealand and Australia. So Canada in December said, okay, a humanitarian ceasefire, we'll side with New Zealand and Australia, which for me, I felt like a Western country actually acknowledging or at least calling for a humanitarian ceasefire, not permanent, mind you, but just a humanitarian one. I thought, you know what, we'll take it. Unfortunately, hasn't happened. In January 2024, when the ICJ had accepted the South African case, Canada is quoted saying, we support the International Court of Justice as a legal body, but we don't support the South African case, which speaks to colonial racism embedded in the government. January, Canada also withheld funds from UNRWA due to false claims about there being Hamas employees It was all debunked, of course, and then it reinstated support 3 months later, even though people were literally depending on that for their livelihood. March 2024, this year, the new Democratic Party called for a historic motion to recognize Palestine as a state, which is huge. I think that they've been the only party to really advocate for Palestinian agency and statehood, at least on a more global national scene. As of May of this year, 149 Palestinian refugees have been approved to come to Canada, but they're not yet here.
Confirmed.
They're not, no one knows if they're here yet. 149 out of 2 million people that have been forcibly displaced, not to mention the 1.5 million that are already in refugee camps all over the world. The last one is that Canada has sent to Israel more than $20 billion of weapons and arms. And they did it through a weird loophole. So they didn't want to look like they were actually directly selling to Israel. So they actually sold them to the States. And then the States sent the weapons over to Israel. So they found this loophole like, look, we haven't renegotiated any contracts. We're not sending them anything. You could look at minister, but then they did. Anyway, so that was Canada's response, which it very much goes in line with the United States. Unfortunately, as much as Canada wants to be like, oh, we're so different, then be goddamn different.
I know. And Trudeau today make an Instagram post to express his condolences to all the life loss, Israeli life loss, because of October 7th, they did not mention a word of all the Palestinians' lives, which are 10 times more.
Yeah. And it's abysmal. It's abysmal.
I sometimes really hope those lost souls of Palestinian lives haunts him. He will. If he's a human, I hope he haunts him. If he doesn't, he may be just a robot. How can you in the position of power, knowing that your words and your action can save lives and not do it? And you do the opposite. You do the opposite, specifically to spill more lives. I really hope he haunts him.
Yeah. I think to close, Hoshin, what can we do? I know this is our call to action, and I think talking about it is good. I think paying attention is good. Do you have any encouragement?
I always think being a good person inside is nothing. It means nothing. No matter who you are, if you think, oh, we're Westerners or we're educated, we're good people, we support world peace, whatever. All this claim, all these words means nothing if you do nothing about it. Being a good person inside or in theory does not save life, does not mean good. You are not a good person if you just say that you are good. Exactly. You have to do something. Only your actions can prove whether you are good or not. It's not your words.
Right.
Don't just close your eyes and tell yourself, oh, this is not happening to me, so I don't have to care. That is not how it works. Yeah. Because someday this thing will go to you. If we always just keep a blind eye on other people suffering, that suffering someday is going to expand and someday it's going to affect you. Yeah, absolutely. It can't not affect you. Like it will. It will. It'll just come back. Yeah. So do something. That's all I can say. Yeah. And there's so many things online, so many resources everywhere. If you want to do something, you will find something to do. Absolutely. So be the first one who do something. Yeah. Even just, it doesn't have to be anything big. But of course, make sure it's a credible source. Go to attend a protest. Yeah. Donate something if you have the means. Yeah. Or just, if you see someone who, learn history, learn the facts. And also important is if you see someone spreading lies, stop it. Right. Challenge it, question it. Who was it? Oh, I was standing with some friends and we were holding up signs and this guy walks by and he's, oh, Hamas started it. And I said, you should learn your history. Look up the Nakba back in 1948, and it was before October 7th, and he just keeps walking away. But I was just like, learn your history, Oh my God. I would say to that, I think I want to remind everyone, remember that there are two sides to every single damn story. That it's not just about one side and one side's perspective. There is always two sides, and
I think if we always are just siding with one narrative, we're going to miss the truth about and the reality of a situation. Invite in both sides to every story. It's just, I would hate it if I was attacked and all of my friends were only listening to my attacker. Andrea, your attacker said that you stabbed him. You need to go to jail. I'm like, you know me. I wouldn't stab anyone. Yeah, but your attacker said. Right? The other thing is just to care for yourself and for others. So we did an episode last year around this time, late October, season 1, episode 13. It's called Global Conflict and Global Grief. And we talk about how it is that we need to grieve together and lean into the collective and our communities that are around us to care for yourself. And I think my last piece of encouragement, if there can be any coming out of this, is that when the Western world denies the existence and denies the justice owed to Palestinians, remember that the world is with you. I think I myself have been thinking about this a lot. I made a post today and I was actually nervous because I'm really trying to build my business, but I was like, what is it for me to lose a business when people have lost literally everything by just one post, right?
God. Exactly.
And, right. And so I put up a post and I was like, you know what? I've got the world on my side. I've got Spain on my side. I've got South Africa. I've got Ireland. I've got Colombia. I've got Mexico. I've got 149 UN member states that agree with me.
Yes.
And so that's been really empowering to remember, because the noise in the West is so loud and it's so one-sided. And I forget that there are people who agree and who can see and are willing to take a stand. So stand with the world, because the world is standing with you.
I love that.
Yeah.
The world is standing on you. Yes.
Yeah.
The world is standing. I really hope more members of the world stands with Palestine, stands with...
Exactly. Peace for Palestine is peace for everyone, including Israeli people.
Exactly.
It is.
If you believe otherwise, again, you're wrong. If you believe otherwise.
Yeah. Ocean, do we want to do a Canadian salad pop quiz just to end on a little bit of a free note? I don't know.
Yes. I mean, do you have a question?
I do have a question. Do you want to ask yours first?
No, you ask your question first. Yeah.
All right. This is data from 2022. I didn't get any data from 2023, obviously, because of what's been happening in Palestine. But as of 2022, what was Palestine's #1 export to Canada? Number one.
Dates?
I'll give it to you. Ding. So the #1 export was tropical fruits, including dates, figs, pineapples, avocados, guavas, mangoes, and mangosteens. Along with that, at the top as well was, of course, olive oil, because that's one of their large crops in Palestine. So that was the #1 top product exported to Canada from Palestine.
Okay, good. Interesting. Thank you for that.
Eat a fig.
Eat a fig. Okay, my question is related to our also last episode.
Okay.
So election is coming, as we talked about.
Yes.
And do you know the federal level, which party is pro-Palestine?
Oh, the New Democratic Party.
Obviously,
NDP.
That's easy.
Ding, ding.
That is easy.
Yeah. And was there any others? Oh, the Green Party.
Yes.
Oh, Greens. Love you. Thanks.
Do you have any other
quiz? Oh, any other parties?
Yeah. Do you think any other parties, or you think that's it?
I think liberals, maybe.
No, they don't stand.
Oh, really?
I just told you, Justin Trudeau is on.
Sure. I don't know which other. I wouldn't imagine the Conservatives either.
No, the Conservative, no. So
or
actually,
the Quebecois.
It's a trick question.
It's a trick question, Ocean.
It really is just NDP and Green, which is sad.
Yeah.
Which is very sad.
Yeah.
It should be all parties.
I just hope they get in there. Yeah. Let's just hope. So everyone, thank you for listening. Obviously a heavier topic than we normally do, but very important and worth
so important.
every minute and every second of our time. All of the links to the facts will be in our show notes. And there's a lot, so be prepared. And please take care of yourself. Do research. Remember, there are two sides to every story. And may peace come to Palestine.
May peace come to Palestine and to us all.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll talk to you again next week.
Talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye. Canadian Salad is written and produced in British Columbia, Canada by Hoshin Ho and Andrea McCoy. Theme music is by Naver Avetyan from Pixabay.
This has been a Good Drinklin production.